Hello everyone, today I will continue to tell you the love story of CEO James and LyTuDiep. I hope you enjoy this video. The love between Diep and James, despite being thousands of kilometers apart, cannot fade away. The distance and time act as great challenges, but they also make the bond between them even deeper. Every day, even in faraway places, Diep still feels James' presence in every breath and thought. As for James, despite being busy with work, there are always moments when he glances at his phone screen, hoping that Diep will send him a message, a status update, or simply a happy photo to ease the longing in his heart. Both of them have their own longing, a yearning that cannot be put into words. Diep misses the nights when they would talk, laugh, and share endless stories. James, on the other hand, misses the warm hugs, the times they sat together in silence, knowing that just being together was enough. They both try to work hard, each telling themselves that work is the best way to ease their sadness. However, no matter how hard they try, the longing still remains. Every night, when the lights are off and everyone is asleep, Diep and James feel their hearts beat faster, hoping for the chance to be close once again, to feel each other's warmth and to hold each other's hand firmly. Their love spans thousands of kilometers, yet it never fades. On the contrary, it becomes the driving force that keeps Diep and James always moving toward each other, no matter how many challenges and obstacles life throws at them. Because they know that, no matter how far apart they are, their love will always remain strong and resilient, like a flame that never goes out. Diep was just like every other day, in the familiar cycle of life. She woke up early, as the first rays of sunshine peeked through the sky, heralding a new day. Although there were moments of tiredness, she never allowed sorrow to linger around her. She quickly adapted to the busy rhythm of life, starting by preparing a simple yet fulfilling breakfast. The familiar dishes from her homeland, the hot bowls of soup, and the fragrant, sticky white rice made her feel like part of her family was still with her, even though James was far away. After finishing breakfast, Diep went to the garden. Though the garden was not vast, it was full of fruit-bearing trees and lush green vegetables. The baskets of juicy watermelons, the bunches of lettuce, and the spinach flourishing amidst the fertile soil. She spent a lot of time in the garden, pulling weeds, taking care of the plants, as though she was nurturing the memories she shared with James. It was where she felt the most at peace, where every green leaf and every branch reaching upwards seemed to carry a piece of the love she had for James. Some days, she would go to the market to sell a few watermelons and fresh vegetables. On such occasions, Diep's eyes would light up as she interacted with the customers, chatting cheerfully to forget the emptiness inside her. The market was a busy, bustling place, where greetings and laughter made her feel as though she wasn't alone. However, in the evenings, when no one was buying anymore, when the surroundings fell silent, the longing for James would flood her mind again, like a huge wave continuously crashing. However, Diep's life now had one significant difference. Little Nee, the girl Diep had adopted, had become an essential part of her life. Every day, Diep took care of Nee as if she were taking care of her own future. Nee was a great comfort, a source of motivation for her to keep going. Diep no longer had to face her moments of sadness alone, as she had Nee with her innocent questions, carefree smiles, and bright, hopeful eyes. Diep and Nee spent beautiful mornings together, warm afternoons by each other's side. Little Nee had made Diep's life less lonely, less boring. She no longer felt lost in this vast world. Nee had brought Diep a sense of closeness, a love she never imagined she could experience after James had gone. Every day, when Diep watched Nee sleep soundly, she would remind herself that even though her love with James was being tested by distance, she still had small joys in life. She had her garden, her work, Nee by her side, and most importantly, she still held in her heart a love for James, a love that would never fade, even though time and distance had blurred the old images. Occasionally, Diep would take some time off to visit Jeem's mother. Although she and Jeems were not yet married, the bond between Diep and the elderly mother felt just like a real mother-daughter relationship. Every time Diep visited, the mother would always open the door with a warm look and a gentle smile, as if Diep were an irreplaceable part of her life. Diep felt the same way. Each visit made her heart feel warm, as though there was no distance between them. Jeem's mother always regarded Diep as her own daughter. Even though Jeems and Diep couldn't be together as they wished, she understood the love they shared. She knew that Diep had given all her love to Jeems, and she cherished that love. Their conversations were always filled with encouragement and comfort. She would share stories about Jeems from his childhood, the sweet memories of her only son whom she loved dearly. Diep listened attentively, her eyes shimmering with thoughts of Jeems. Even though they were thousands of miles apart, in her heart, that love remained intact. One afternoon, as the golden sunlight faded after a long day, the two women went into the kitchen together. Diep helped Jeem's mother prepare the familiar dishes she used to make for Jeems when he was a child. They chopped vegetables, prepared spices, and smiled while exchanging cooking tips. Jeem's mother greatly appreciated Diep, always praising her culinary skills. Diep also felt the warmth of a mother-daughter relationship in that kitchen. Even though she wasn't her biological daughter, the mother treated her as one. While they cooked, the two women not only discussed recipes but also shared their feelings of missing Jeems. Whenever they thought of him, their eyes would grow somber, but there was no blame or crying. They both understood that, even though Jeems couldn't be present in these moments, he was always in their hearts. They spoke about the memories they shared with Jeems, the times he worked in the garden with his mother, the afternoons when they sat together and chatted. For Diep, these stories were a great comfort because, even though Jeems wasn't there, she could still feel his love through every word and every memory shared by his mother. The dinner that Diep and Jeems' mother prepared together was always a simple one, but filled with love. They ate, laughed together, sometimes sitting in silence, only hearing the clinking of the plates. But in that silence, there was an unspoken understanding, a quiet comfort between the two women. They didn't need many words, just being there for each other was enough, sharing their longing for a man, a son, whom both of them loved and missed. Each time Diep visited Jeem's mother, she felt like her heartache was soothed. The empathy between the two women, though not bound by blood, was healing, and their love and shared experiences eased the pain of the long separation. Diep knew that, no matter how vast the distance, these sincere feelings would always remain, like a bridge connecting her to Jeems, and to his mother. Diep's life seemed to sink deeper into sadness after having to part with Jeems. Each passing day, the longing for him surged in her heart, like a wave constantly crashing against her soul. When she was alone, Diep felt like something was missing in her life, the warmth and encouragement she used to receive from Jeems. Although she tried to work to distract herself from the sadness, her heart always longed for the distant man. Today, after finishing her work in the garden, Diep and Little Nee sat together on the porch, where the gentle breeze blew, bringing a sense of peace. Little Nee, with her innocent eyes and pure smile, was a great comfort to Diep. She sat beside the child, gently stroking her hair, and they began to talk about simple things in life. Diep shared with Nee stories about the beautiful mornings and the tales of Jeems that she still held dear. Nee listened intently, though she couldn't fully understand what Diep was saying. Sometimes just a hand-holding, a gentle hug from Nee was enough to make Diep feel less lonely. After a while of talking, Diep and Nee started tidying up the surroundings, preparing for a peaceful night. Diep cleaned the little house, while Nee helped her with small tasks like arranging the pillows and turning off the lights. They went to bed together in the quiet of the night. But that night, everything was not as peaceful as usual. No one expected that in the stillness of that humble house, something unexpected was about to happen. When everyone had fallen asleep, suddenly, strange noises came from outside the door. Two strange men, stealthy in their movements, entered the yard of Diep's house. Although Diep's house was modest, it was situated quite far from the neighborhood, making it easy for intruders to sneak in. While Diep had always been concerned about security, she never imagined that her safety would be threatened like this. The two strangers, seeing that the door wasn't locked tightly, broke it open and silently entered. Diep, unaware, continued to sleep soundly in her small room. The night seemed even quieter, with only the footsteps of the two strange men blending with the sounds of the wind outside. They moved inside swiftly and quietly, as if they had planned it all in advance. Little Nee, despite being just a child, had an unusually sharp sense. She suddenly woke up, hearing unusual noises in the house. Nee grabbed Diep's hand and shook her awake in panic. Diep immediately woke up and sensed something was wrong. She quickly tiptoed, trying to make no noise, but the worried look in Nee's eyes made her realize that something was amiss. Diep had no time to think much, all she could feel was confusion and fear. She gently, but calmly, looked towards the door of her room, where the two strangers were entering. A break-in into her own house, the place she always considered the safest. At this moment, Diep's only thought was to protect Nee, protect herself, and her home. She quickly signaled for Nee to be quiet and then tried to escape the room discreetly. Though fear surged within her, Diep remained strong, determined not to let herself falter. She just hoped that things wouldn't get worse, and that she would stay sharp enough to handle this dangerous situation. After a night of terror, Diep still couldn't shake off the shivers and fear from the events that had happened. She still felt her body trembling, as if that fear had not yet left her. The helplessness, pain, and fear from the previous night had left her heart feeling suffocated. Diep tightly held little Nee in her arms, as though only this could make her feel safe and ease her worries. Nee was still fast asleep, but her tiny hand resting on Diep's made her feel a sense of peace. She looked at her daughter with deep concern. "I'm sorry, Nee. Mommy couldn't protect you better," Diep whispered, but Nee didn't wake up. Diep took a deep breath, wiping away the last of her tears. She knew she had to be stronger, not just for herself, but also for Nee, whom she always had to protect. As the morning light streamed through the window, Diep began to feel some relief from the tension. She sat up, her body still weary and weak, but the responsibility and worry pushed her to stand up. Diep went into the kitchen to prepare a simple breakfast for herself and Nee. The usual dishes, a bowl of hot porridge, a few boiled eggs, were simple, but they were what Diep wanted to keep in her life so that Nee could feel some peace during these difficult times. After breakfast was ready, Diep gently woke Nee, who was still sleepy, but smiled softly when she saw her mother. "Mommy, let's eat breakfast," Nee said, still groggy but cheerful. Diep smiled, stroked her daughter's head, and hugged her once again. These quiet moments, these times when Nee was still by her side, made Diep feel like she could get through anything. However, Diep could not find peace in her heart. She still couldn't erase the image of the two thieves breaking into the house the night before. She couldn't forget the panic she felt when they controlled her and Nee. She feared they might return. Right now, it was just her and Nee. Though their simple home had nothing of value except love and memories, Diep knew those thieves could come back at any time. After finishing breakfast, Diep decided she had to do something important: report the incident to the police. She couldn't live in fear and worry anymore. It was the only thing that could help her feel safer, to seek help from the authorities to protect herself and Nee. Diep knew that the police would help her handle this situation and prevent any future dangers. She took her phone, hesitated for a moment, and then called the police to report the incident. While waiting for them to arrive, she tried to clean up the mess the thieves had made in the house, trying to restore some order to the surroundings. But inside, everything still felt chaotic, and she couldn't calm down. Diep looked at Nee and had only one thought: she had to protect her child, no matter how many hardships she had to face. When the police arrived, Diep recounted the entire event. She clearly described the two thieves, how they had broken into the house, and what they had done. Diep also worried that they might return, but the police reassured her, promising to investigate and do their best to ensure the safety of her and Nee. Once everything had been reported, Diep still felt an overwhelming sense of worry, but she knew that at least she had done something to protect herself and her small family. Although the previous night had been a terrifying ordeal, today, Diep bravely moved forward. Despite still feeling fear in her heart, she would not let that fear control her life. After the terrifying night, Diep sat in the quiet house, but there was no peace in her heart. Part of it was because of the break-in, but mostly because of the immense loss she was facing. Her only phone, the one thing that connected her to James, had been taken by the thieves. There was no way to contact him, no means to share her worries or emotions with the person she loved. Diep sat silently in the house, her hand clutching at the phone that was no longer in her possession. Everything seemed to have suddenly collapsed. She couldn't call James to tell him what had happened, couldn't comfort him or ask for his help. Most importantly, she couldn't tell him that she and little Nee were in danger, even just a little. Diep didn't want to make him worry. She understood that if James knew about this, he would be terrified, and that fear would only add to his anxiety, making him even more uneasy. Diep looked out the window, seeing the warm rays of sunshine, but it wasn't enough to drive away the coldness in her heart. She tried to tell herself to be strong, but the loneliness and fear still surrounded her. Diep knew she couldn't allow herself to be weak, but at times, her heart just wanted to break down and cry, to share her feelings with someone to lighten the load. Meanwhile, across the ocean, James began to feel anxious. He had called Diep many times but hadn't received any calls back. At first, he thought maybe Diep was busy with work or daily life, and assumed she would call him back soon. But as the calls went unanswered, he started to feel impatient. Worry gradually consumed him. Was something wrong with her? He couldn't stop thinking about what could have happened. James picked up his phone again, staring at the screen, but there were still no missed calls from Diep. He tried calling again. Still, no signal. He sighed, trying to reassure himself that maybe Diep was too busy, or perhaps there was some reason she couldn't answer the phone. She'll call me back soon, James told himself. But he couldn't deny that the worry was growing inside him. He started to think about calling Diep's mother to check if something had happened, but then he hesitated, not wanting to make her worry if there was nothing serious going on. He tried to stay calm, but the unease began to make him restless. James could do nothing but wait. He knew that if something had happened, Diep would find a way to contact him. But the longer he waited, the slower time seemed to pass, heavy and suffocating. He reminded himself to be patient, that everything would be fine, and that Diep would call him back soon. Each unanswered call was a reminder that the distance between them was not just physical, but also emotional, a gap of absence and fear that Diep was facing alone. James longed to be by her side, but he knew that for now, all he could do was wait and hope that Diep would soon return to him, that nothing would happen to her or little Nee. From Diep's side, she remained silent. Although her heart wanted to speak the truth, she couldn't. She didn't want to break James' heart, didn't want to make him worry more. And then, the fears began to rise within Diep, as she knew that with every passing minute, she was drifting further away from James, even if only emotionally. She didn't know what to do next, but at least in her mind, Diep knew she had to be strong, for Nee and for herself.
Hello mọi người, lại là mình đây. Mình xin chia sẻ một chút, mình là chủ của kênh, cũng là người tạo ra những video thể loại review kể chuyện như thế này để cho mọi người nghe. Thì nếu như mà ở kênh gốc thì mọi người phải nghe bằng tiếng Việt, thì ở kênh này thì mình đã làm sang bằng tiếng Anh để cho mọi người có thể nghe và hiểu hơn, cũng như là có lồng tiếng đa ngôn ngữ. Mọi người có thể mở vào phần dấu hình răng cưa ở góc màn hình bên phải, sau đó là bật lồng tiếng lên và chọn ngôn ngữ phù hợp với quốc gia của các bạn để có thể nghe lồng tiếng cũng như là phụ đề. Thì mình hy vọng rằng mọi người có thể theo dõi video một cách đầy đủ và cũng có thể nắm bắt được nội dung câu chuyện thông qua cái bản dịch lồng tiếng. Có thể là nó sẽ không chuẩn xác 100% so với lại bản gốc mà mình đã tạo ra, nhưng nó cũng phần nào đó truyền tải được ý nghĩa của câu chuyện đến mọi người. Hy vọng rằng mọi người sẽ ủng hộ và theo dõi cho kênh mình nhiều hơn. Bye bye.